Hey guys, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to talk about how we can stay cool in a crisis, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. I thought it might be helpful for you to hear these words and maybe they can help you to reduce your anxiety somewhat and to try and be cool in this crisis, or when more crises come, you can use these tips and remain calm. So I'm going to share with you three actionable tips that I believe they've helped me, and so I think they can help you, and that's why I'm sharing them here. So they all draw from Platonic Buddhist and Hindu philosophy, and the first actionable tip is to avoid speculation and opinion. A lot of people at the moment, they're getting a lot of opinion from a lot of journalists, from the news and newspapers, and most of these journalists, they don't do their fact checking, they don't spend a lot of time researching, so they give you an opinion and you form your opinion on that person's opinion, which is like what Jesus would say, building your house upon the sand. Whereas what I would much rather do is go to one source, an expert on the subject. In this case, in regards viruses, I listened to a conversation with Joe Rogan, and I think his name was Michael Osterholm. He's a virus expert and has been for 20 years. He worked on the SARS epidemic and wrote books about what would come. And so I listened to this man's opinion, which is much closer to the truth of the matter. And then I form my opinion on his truth and facts and research that he's sharing. And then Jesus would say that that's the house built upon the rock. So as much as you can, I know it's a daily habit for some people watching the news or reading the newspaper, but I really think it's detrimental to our peace and well-being, because the way that the news media is set up now, it's to just get clicks and just to instill fear and irrationality. So as best as you can, if you can avoid the news and just try it, give it a try, avoid it for 2-3 days and see how your anxiety reduces, because you're not being constantly bombarded with all these opinions and scaremongering. So that's tip one: avoid news media and even social media if you're really anxious, as much as you can. The second tip comes from all of those philosophies again. You find it within Platonism, Hinduism and Buddhism, and that's regards attachment. And I could talk about losing loved ones and losing possessions and the system falling apart, but I think that might trigger a few people, so I'm not going to use the analogy of a death of a loved one or system collapsing, because again, I'm trying to help you to remain cool. I don't want you to be more worried than you need to be. So I'm going to use the example of Minecraft. I don't know if you've ever played Minecraft, but there's a really great analogy to be taken from Minecraft. Me and my son enjoy playing Minecraft. If you've never played it, it's like a sandbox game where you gain resources to build stuff, and it's really good. I enjoy it. So there's two different gameplay modes. The first mode is creative mode, where you have access to every single item, every single thing that is available in Minecraft. You can just go and get it. So with the example of my son, say, he can go and with a few clicks get a diamond pickaxe and a diamond sword. And because they're so easy to come by, he's not attached to them. He doesn't care about them. Whereas if he was in survival mode and he wanted to go and get a diamond sword and a diamond pickaxe, it would take him a long time trying to find the diamonds and then creating them. And so what I see is when we're playing survival mode, if he dies, say, or loses these items, he's very attached. And you can see it, he suffers because he's lost it and he's attached to it. So this is, if we're very attached to a thing, it's going to cause us more suffering when it's lost. If we're not attached to something at all, it can just float away and we won't even notice. We won't even be bothered. So it's everywhere in Platonic, Hindu and Buddhist philosophy, this idea of attachment, and that our attachment to things and our desires is the things that cause us suffering. So you can maybe look into that a bit more, but I hope that Minecraft analogy made it clear enough that the more we're invested and attached to the thing, if we lose it, the more we will suffer. the third and final actionable tip is to read and broaden our knowledge. I've read a lot of biographies. I've read a lot of the holy texts, and I love to read. So I'll read everything and anything, especially recommendations from people I highly respect and follow. So I've read a lot of books, and that's given me a lot of foresight. Years ago, I read that man's book on the the diseases and the viruses and the SARS and what can come. So when these sort of things come into the world, when they start coming, if you've already read a book about that and you've heard this man's arguments, when it starts to come about, you just say, oh yeah, look, that's what Michael Osterholm was talking about in his book. And it's not a massive surprise, and it doesn't crush your whole world and existence. And there's another couple of books that I'll recommend if you, I don't know if anyone's ever followed up on one of my recommendations, but there's two books that I've read just recently that again help me to paint a picture of what could be. And then when the world starts moving towards these things, I think, oh yeah, look, that's what it could be like. And wouldn't it be terrible if that happened? And it's not for the faint of heart. So if you're of an anxious disposition, don't read these books. But if you're not, and you want to gain some foresight about how life could be, I recommend H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds, where the Martians invade, and that's ultimately the forefather. If you ever watch any sci-fi films about aliens, or if you ever, I suppose, the zombie apocalypse films is in a similar genre, then go back to the source and read H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds. And another one is Lord of the Flies, which is another brilliant book, and it's about a group of school children whose plane crashes and they're on the island, and yeah, just how how it would be if we had to go back to square one. And yeah, I mean, for me, I want to know what's the worst case scenario that could happen, and then I form my opinion and forethought on that. And so to stay cool in a crisis, you need to avoid speculation and opinions. You need to try and address, reduce, and ultimately remove your attachments. And you should be reading books to gain some knowledge and wisdom and forethought about these things when they come. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope I haven't caused any more anxiety. I hope I've gone to reduce it. But if you action and implement these tips into your life, I really think you can reduce anxiety and stay cool in a crisis. Okay, guys, take care now. I'll see you soon. Bye.